Yo, Bungie's new hero-based first-person shooter extraction game called Marathon has finally revealed some gameplay. Fortunately, I was one of the invited creators to playtest the game early, so I'm going to give you guys my opinions on what I loved and hated about the game after playing it for the first time. Just a note, I played a relatively early playtest June of last year, so my opinion could be a little bit outdated. But here's what I know. The immediate first wall that I hit when playtesting Marathon was the unreal amount of looting I had to do in order to craft items specifically. The game has a global inventory, and it felt like every single item in the game that I needed to craft had their own unique material set. I'm talking 300 different specific materials in the game. I mean, I love the depth, but holy crap, that needed to be dialed back bad. I played extraction shooter games before with crafting. I played 500 or so hours of Delta Force, and I really enjoyed it. And I played the Arc Raiders closed alpha playtest as well for nearly around 100 or so hours. And I enjoyed that too. But if I can remember correctly, neither of these extraction shooter games have nearly as many specific items as Marathon does. These two games had crafting bypasses as well, where you could simply just buy crafting items on the public marketplace if you didn't want to deal with the nuance of finding items. Not only did Marathon not have a public marketplace when I played, granted this was a very early playtest, so it's subject to change, but you also needed like 10 nodes and 8 different circuits to craft items. Not even low numbers, like 2 or 3 required crafting materials. It felt like a bit of a grind lockout, which hopefully has gotten smoothened out a little bit as the game has progressed, but for 2 specific reasons mainly. One being, if you're hard locked out of loot behind crazy grind requirements, then casual players will never truly have a chance against jobless no-lives, no matter how talented the casual players are. It's just a fact. And 2, there just becomes too much of a disparity in the player base based on how much time people put into the game and not how good they actually are at video games at all. In my experience, extraction shooter games where bad players win fights because they grinded 26 hours for extremely broken loot does not make the game fun. I mean, in Delta Force, you can shoot someone with red armor like 28 times with gray bullets and they can genuinely walk it off. That's insane to me. That is a genuine bad mechanic in shooter games. The object of the game is to shoot to win. Jesus. The second thing that threw me completely off, and this probably won't be the same for everyone, but this game is the first hero shooter that I've ever seen add a stamina bar. There are heroes in the game that have speeding abilities, heroes that can dash, you can slide, so the stamina bar seems really imbalanced in a game where movement is a clear priority. The characters that don't have any sort of movement abilities are just at an even greater disadvantage with a stamina bar and would require some really broken abilities in order to be on par with someone who has like a tracer dash in an extraction shooter game. Because at the end of the day, if you can't hit your target in a shooter, you will not win in a shooter. It's that simple. But most extraction shooters do have stamina bars, so I understand the decision to a small degree. And the last thing that kind of bothered me about the game was the bot aggro. In Marathon, there are AI that patrol perimeters just like every other extraction shooter, yes. But if you stay in one area too long, the bots get stronger and stronger. And it doesn't matter how many enemy teams are around or whether you're in a fight or not, the bots don't care. They literally never lost aggro. And they were like juggernauts. I'm talking upgraded shields that took hundreds of bullets to penetrate, long-range snipers hiding, dealing damage. It was insane. Also, the AI had groupthink, so they would pick a specific squad to target and essentially didn't really swap targets until either the squad was completely wiped or the bots were wiped off the map. I mean, I also do understand that other games are like this as well, but when I say that they were the most aggressive AI I've ever encountered in any video game in my life, I'm genuinely not exaggerating. I'm pretty sure that's one of the key points of the game, actually. They can dash, they can shield each other, they're flying drones, they come in waves and start to do more and more damage the longer you hang around. It was very daunting, especially when first starting out with kit loot. But I mean, it seems manageable. It just makes PvP even harder considering there are enemy players on the battlefield that can literally go invisible. Definitely a ton to look out for. Now, here's what I loved about the extraction shooter. Honestly, I genuinely loved everything else about the game. The game's art style, world building, map design, and even character abilities were all extreme green flags in my opinion. At the time that I playtested, I think there were 4 or 5 playable runners, and I genuinely enjoyed every single one of them. My favorite was the guy with the shield because he has an insane dash ability that just cooks people's aim, and his ultimate ability shot missiles at enemies. He was definitely broken, but I'm sure he's been dialed back a little bit. The invisible guy was nuts too, because at the time that I played, he actually had true invisibility and even lost bot aggro, so he was a real threat. I think they got rid of the true invisibility though and went for some more Alien versus Predator style invisibility warping. I played 3 or 4 maps total when I playtested, and they were all amazing. The layouts felt nice. There was a lot to explore, and I definitely felt like I didn't get to see everything that was available, but the core game design is incredibly impressive. Each map has unique elements as well, like unique loot spawns, and some maps even have their own enemy type, like the final map called the Marathon Ship. The final map works similar to a Destiny raid, but there's also PvP. It's a high tier loot map where you're very unlikely to survive without good weapons and ammunition. And in the end, you have to do some crazy puzzles and defeat a boss for some legendary tier loot. It was great. I loved it. This new game Marathon is definitely going to be incredibly fun and refreshing on release, and I have insanely high hopes for it. My only real issue is that I'm sure the game has developed much further than when I last playtested it a year ago, so my opinion might be slightly outdated, unfortunately. I do wish that I was able to play the most polished version before they released the NDA on content and information, but that's just how it goes sometimes. If you enjoy gaming content and updates, make sure to subscribe for daily uploads.